form and motion to current agenda. Also moved. Randy moved. Jessica seconded to approve the agenda. Any comments? Any comments? Any comments? All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye. Aye. Opposed? It carries. Approval of minutes for the April 1st, 2025 meeting. Jessica. Randy seconded the motion to approve the minutes for April 1st, 2025 meeting. Any comments? Any comments? Any comments? All in favor of approving the minutes? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carries. So I'll go ahead and do the public hearing for FY 2026 budget. We have a draft of it. We're still getting more information in and providing updates how we separate out the different insurance by category, by department, stuff we haven't done in the past. So it just reflects the most recent adjustments on it. It also, the budget reflects the town's direction as far as infrastructure, quality of life, and economic development, which we see as the three foundations of any small town. I've been around long enough to know that at some point we didn't need a payroll. You know, so we're in pretty good shape right now, and we're moving forward. Like to keep that energy going. So I'll open the public hearing at 6:02 for the budget. Anybody would like to comment on our budget? Any comments on the budget? So go ahead and if there are no comments on the budget, I'm going to close the public hearing for their FY 26 budget at 6:03. Hearing is closed. I'd like to have comments from any other guests to speak on any topics. Representative.
Thank you, Representative Lori Bratton, House District 51. So just want to let everybody know that there will be a lot of the interim committees have already started. So they just posted the interim committee topics. So you can go on the YLEDGE site and see what those interim topics will be for the upcoming summer. As you probably a lot of you know, that's when a lot of the committee bills get put together. So I do know the judiciary and education things, and you certainly are welcome to ask me about those. But so that's it kind of from that. And then I just got off the phone with Trinity Lewis, who's the district director for Harry Hageman. And although the marshal is not here, please let him know that they are so appreciative that he went and provided security for them at her town hall meeting. So he wanted to, they wanted to pass that along, those thanks to him for doing that on a somewhat short notice. Since I was the district director back in the day for a congressman, we didn't have to go through Capitol Police. And so now they do have to go through the Capitol Police, and usually they take care of that. But somewhere along the lines, there was a miscommunication, and that didn't happen. And so it was very short notice. So she wanted me to pass it along, and I said I would. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we will tell Spencer for that. And
good.
Yes, we're more than happy to be able to help. Any other comments? Okay, that brings up Carrie. Conservation.
I'm glad Barbara took the microphone away. That would have been really loud. Couldn't share it. Just wanted to, again, come for our annual visit. Should be more often than that, but I know how busy you are and you're about the same way. So, but just want to continue to appreciate or express our support for the, support that we've received from you over the last several years. The $1,000 per year that you've provided, it's very important to us as provide some of that match amount that we need for some of the federal and state grants that we receive to do those programs. The majority of our expenses are for direct program project expenses, and that funding support really helps with that. On your handout is, again, like I've done in the past, I like to make sure you understand our budget picture, I guess, or how we allocate those dollars. We always ensure that the funds that we receive from you stay within the Tongue River watershed. We know that's important to you, so that makes that important to us. Specifically this year, those funds are going to go towards the additional water quality monitoring in the Tongue River that was requested for us to do related to some potential fire impacts in the water quality. So those funds will provide, we received some grants to do that monitoring, and then these funds will provide some of that match to help with those. We did have the sampling analysis plan was approved by DEQ in mid-April, and we've already been out and collected 2 days worth of sampling for that. It was at existing sample sites that we already had in our schedule for our Tongue River 2025 monitoring. Just added some days and some parameters. And I will tell you the parameters you added, lots of bottles. Not just one time thing. Big bags carried out. Just, oh. No, it's been good. It's been a change for us, but we're getting the system down. But on the first part of your handout is where for FY25 our budget summary, the whole picture. Today, as of April 30th, income of $1,059,000 and some odd change. 83% of that income has been from federal and state grants or programs. And then the other pieces, whether it's been restricted donations, your funds would be within that local government funding, and then other admin and fees and services provide that, round out that pie. Similarly, on the expenses, $1,044,000, and then $900. Over 80% of that is direct for projects and programs. That would be cost share programs with landowners for water quality improvement projects, monitoring, lab fees, outreach expenses, and then also the cleanup work that we're doing out at Acme. So all of that is in that 83%. Payroll is only 13% of that expense picture. Related to how we spend that time, that payroll time, that bottom graph, the largest chunk of our time is spent on technical assistant coordination of programs, working directly with landowners, some of those other coordination activities. Then we spend a significant amount of time on administration. As you can imagine, we're heavily grant funded, so there's a lot of that time administering those grants and all the other funding sources to make sure they go to the places they need to go to, and then monitoring outreach. And though we spend, the Acme project, as you know, is a pretty big project expense-wise, but personnel time, we don't spend a lot of time. We don't have to because we hired some other people that know what they're doing, and then the contractor, so it's more expenses related rather than just our time. On the back side, if you like a lot of little numbers, which I do sometimes, but that shows where every dollar of our funds as of April 30th has gone. Whether it's our monitoring, personnel or expenses, technical assistance, the direct projects, and those other pieces. So on the left-hand side of that is just as a reminder of just the overall picture of what the district is, what we do, and then some of the highlights for fiscal year 25. We haven't had a lot of requests in the last year for water quality improvement projects in this watershed. We do have a couple of stock water wells, one that's under construction, under contract right now, in the Tongue River watershed. Mentioned we'll be doing our 2025 water quality monitoring on the Tongue River watershed. If you recall, we do that on a 3-year rotation because we rotate among the Goose Creek and Prairie Dog Creek watersheds. This year just happened to be back in Tongue River, so it worked out well with the additional fire
fire impact sampling. We have the oil recycling facilities in Dayton and Claremont to provide free oil recycling collection that then is collected and disposed of, or that is recycled. And then our seed and tree program. As far as the Acme project goes, the asbestos removal and partial building demo are underway now. Soil hotspot cleanup will follow. Then after that, it will kind of be contingent upon what funding we are able to receive and then how those timelines work together. As of right now, we have funding to get us through the soil hotspot, and then the outreach coordination, the last few years have been kind of coordinating and working with a lot of other partners on the Working Lands Collaborative and bringing workshops and events to help increase our understanding of things, soil health, regenerative agriculture, and grazing management, and then also trying to provide opportunities for networking among ourselves. We have a lot of very good land managers and intelligent folks that once they can communicate with each other and share those resources. It's a joy to see. So with that, I will answer any questions, and then just know that we're using those funds and hope that you can continue to allocate that $1,000. We appreciate that very much.
Based on what you do, having been around you for a long time.
Just a few years.
2 years, yeah. So, yeah, 2 years, yeah. And that we do get a lot of bang for our buck. Yeah, so.
We
Yeah,
appreciate it.
well, I don't know if it's fortunate, but having you here when you're monitoring on our river or outside the river.
And if you would have asked, I'm sure we could have worked
Oh, I
something
know.
out anyway.
We've always been-
But I mean, and it does work out. I mean, it's an interesting to kind of see how that plays out. It's new for a lot of us.
Yes, it is.
We're still, through some other funding sources to work on some hazard mitigation work in the watershed on some of those areas that burn. We're kind of learning as we go.
Anybody have any questions of Terry?
Yeah, I do. The fire impact sampling is, do you have additional stations where you sample? Or I guess it's gonna be something new, isn't it, really?
So when we do our regular Tongue River monitoring, we have 5 sites on the Tongue River and then some tributaries, starting down towards the state line and then at Welch Ranch, Cleburne, here at the town, Halfway Lane, and then the canyon are the Tongue River sites, and then we have some on the tributaries. So that is our usual monitoring, just our basic parameters: pH, conductivity, oxygen, temperature, flow, turbidity, and bacteria. For the fire stuff, through Peter and some of the Dell, I guess, that's working with you, they had asked or requested that if it were possible, if we could get the funding to do it, that maybe at 3 of the existing sites, so Tongue River here at the town, which is right kind of at your intake, one in Tongue River Canyon and then one on Wolf Creek because it's above your intake. If we could add some additional parameters, and we used in cooperation with them, there were some information and reports from down in Colorado, some of those fires and the water quality that they did. And so we built a parameter list and kind of went back and forth with the lab and whittled it down a little bit to include some additional metals, nutrients, carbon, turbidity, and I'm sure I'm missing some things. But, so we usually don't start till mid-May is when our sampling usually starts, but they kind of, and again, all of this was as we were looking, it was like, well, if we can get the funding, if we can get the pieces to work together or work out, wanted us to do a little bit earlier. So we added 2 sample days ahead of when we usually would start in May at those 3 sites, the 2 Tongue River sites and Wolf Creek. Don't have any results yet back, but we collected, it's a lot of bottles for those various parameters, but it's not a bottle per parameter, which is a very good thing. They can take some, but so that's, I don't know if that answers your question, but so that's how we.
Yeah, the other question that goes along with that is, do you think that you're gonna require some additional funding? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're awkward, so we did get a grant to do that funding. their process is slow, so we don't have an actual agreement yet. So we can't use those funds yet, but we can accrue match right now for it. And I'm just hoping that their agreement comes before I've expended what I can pull for match to do this. We did receive, federal funds to do the monitoring.
Okay. Yeah, it would be nice to know if, you do need additional funding. Especially now when we're doing our budget and
Yeah, I think,
especially for that.
you know, if we were still gonna be awarded 1,000, I hope we are, but if that was still part of it, maybe just a timing, generally speaking, because, the disbursements, kind of go throughout the year, and ours usually comes in that March, April, is that right, Barbara? I feel like it's March, April.
I think so,
You
yeah.
know, so maybe if this year's become a little earlier while we're still monitoring, before the end of October, maybe that would be handy, but if not, we can, you know, use it for some of the reporting or pieces like that, but I guess I would hesitate to request additional dollars for the monitoring yet, because as of now, like I said, I planned on the 1,000 from you guys, and then the second 1,000 for this upcoming fiscal year, the 1,000 that we received for FY 25.
Yep,
And then hope for a 1,000 for FY 26, so that 2,000, and then with the grant funding, so I don't want to request if we don't need it, but.
Yeah. Well, I thought I'd better.
Since we're predominantly grant funded and the little bit we get from the communities, any bit we receive helps, but we also know you guys aren't a huge budget either, or huge coffers either. So we understand that and just really appreciate what we do receive. It's not only is it critical for the match, but it's very important to be able to tell, legislators, and other granting agencies that we receive funding support from all municipalities. Ranchester, Dayton, Claremont, City of Sheridan, and the county. Not a huge amount from any, but that's okay. We still have support, and that's important to us, and that's why I track every day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so that's why you're a bad lady.
Thank you guys, appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Gary. Moving on to old business, the second reading of the budget ordinance 86-2026. All in favor of passing on second reading? Ordinance 86-2026, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. New business resolution 01-2025. This is our annual request. We have to do this by statute. Pursuant to the Wyoming State statute, the town of Ranchester hereby enters into a record of resolution determining the amount of general tax assessments necessary to be levied on taxable property within the town of Manchester in fiscal year July 1st, 2025, ending June 30th, 2026, to meet current expenses in the said town. Whereas the amount of the general tax assessment to be levied upon taxable property within the town of Manchester fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025, and ending June 30th, 2026. And whereas to meet the expenses of said town, the fiscal year is hereby determined, determined 8 mills. Be resolved by the town council of town of Manchester, the amount of general assessment to be levied upon the taxable property within the town of Manchester for a fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025 and ending June 30th, 2026. To meet the expenses of the town for the said fiscal year is hereby determined to be 8 mills. The same fixed and appropriated by the council, in which amounts are enumerated for the respective purpose as followed to a general fund, 8 mills. That's resolution. Entertain motion, pass the resolution for the mills.
I would so move to pass resolution 01-2025.
You got a second, okay. Randy moved, Jessica second. Any more discussion? You move the second.
Is it 8 mils right now?
Just make 8 mils. Any discussions? Any questions? Okay, all in favor of passing the resolution 01-2025 general tax assessment, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Mayor's report. I really don't have anything other than I'd like to thank the town crew, Gary and Mark and Will for figuring out a workout so we didn't have to turn off 100 and some houses full of water when we connected our water lines. It was kind of a, yeah, they came up with a solution. At one point, we thought maybe we'd have to shut a third of the town for water, and they came up with a workaround on that, so that's saved us a lot of headaches and a lot of screaming.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I really appreciate that. Other than that, I don't really have anything, everything else that I think is covered on the other reports. So, report on projects, Will.
Mayor and council, going to start off from the top here, the TR pathway, 100% design. I talked to WWDC today. They're hoping to have all the whiteout comments that they got back, responded to them hopefully by next week. So we'll see how that comes along, see what whiteout tells us on that. The phase 1 construction there for the pathway. Got an email this morning that the CADX for that project was approved and the construction plans are to go, so they just have to update some stuff in the project manual, so we'll be able to advertise that project and hopefully start building it later this summer. And then that'll be about that first mile of the pathway going on to the county subdivision there to Echo Drive. So hopefully that moves forward pretty quick. And then this phase 2 TAP grant on there. We have a site visit with YDOT individuals tomorrow. And that will go over the statement of intent that we intend to apply for a grant from them. So go meet with every entity that does that and sit down with them and visit about what you're wanting to do. And then the 12-inch transmission main, I'm sure everybody's seen people, the track house parked along the streets and cutting up the roads and digging through. On that, just so everybody knows, they're going to start working on Albert Street and Main Street, so there's gonna be some roads that are closed down. They're gonna be putting in the 2 new 12-inch water lines in there, so if you see the road closed and everything, hopefully we'll have a way around. We should, but just be aware that they are gonna start putting up some road close signs and shutting down a block or two at a time to get that line put in. And if people are wondering what the black pipe is laying along the road, that's temporary water for houses, because there's no way to provide water to them while they're digging everything up. And like Peter said, we had them put in another valve instead of shutting off the entire east side of town, so made that a little easier, so we have, can keep water to everybody, that way everybody in town will either be on temporary water or just be on regular water, so we don't have to worry about shutting off people. If anything goes wrong and the water's off longer than 8 hours, we'll probably be in trouble with that many houses being shut off, so. The grants and loans, the ARPA stuff, the ARPA funding and the WWDC level 3 funding, that all kind of goes back to that 12-inch transmission main project, getting a large majority of that paid for with those 2 grants that we got from those 2 entities there, so. The third one there, that mineral royalty grant, we were awarded $300,000 grant from them. We signed that agreement and sent it back to IAM. I do not have an executed agreement that's yet from them. Hopefully we'll get that. I'm hoping within the next month, so we can get that emergency generator put in down at the water treatment plant. So if the power does go out, we can make water down there. Right now, if we lose power in town, we have a way to run the plant. So. And then the last one there on the subdivisions, we're actually going to do a 1-year warranty walkthrough tomorrow. There are a handful of things out there in that subdivision that need to be fixed. So we'll meet with the contractor and the developer out there and go walk through everything and get them a list of things that they have to have fixed up, so. With that, if anybody has any questions on that.
Thanks for keeping the water on.
Yeah. Yeah, I was, that would be, I told Marlene she should probably stay home that day. When we Well, thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Marshall's report, Spencer is down in Casper for convention in for Westcott. Mommy Association.
Training, yes.
For training and stuff. He has, a lot of dog complaints, a lot of dog issues. Basically keep the dog under control, on the leash. This seems to be a perpetual problem. And his help out with the Congressman Hagman's town hall in Dayton. On short notice, he pulled together a lot of stuff to get that done. And there were some complaints about having dogs. I heard those dogs are not type of dogs, attack dogs. They're, you have to appreciate our dog. She's really sweet if you don't move too quickly. But yeah, I do appreciate Spencer doing that. We did talk about that. And, when the Capitol Hill Police calls and says, can you help out? We see it as our responsibility for public officials, especially at the federal level, to be responsive to that. So, regardless of your politics, that's our responsibility, public safety.
And we signed a contract with Dayton.
Yeah, we signed,
We signed a contract to do events and other things
Yeah,
with
yeah,
Dayton.
we're
So that
working
was
on
how
it.
we had jurisdiction in Dayton.
we also have a reserve officer that we're in the process of training. Just to cover things. So I'm not gonna belabor that anymore on Spencer's report. Special committees, the joint powers board meeting is on the May 15th, 4 p.m. We will have our public hearing for our proposed budget for next year, FY 26. Fire District, do you have anything for us?
I do. Like exciting stuff. Mayor, council, Jeff Barron, Chief, Tongue River Fire. A couple things, want to give you an update on our truck, due for delivery July-ish now. It's being built as we speak. I wanted to give a thanks and a shout out to the Scott Foundation. They awarded the district an additional $60,000 towards the truck. What that'll do is it'll buy a light tower for it, additional amenities on the truck that we would not have been able to get with the MRG grant. So a big shout out to a local foundation that really does a lot of good in our community. We participated in the mother-son dance. I wasn't there, but I heard we created an awesome obstacle course for the mothers mostly. The sons kind of watched.
That's what I heard too.
And we also played road guard for the Railway 5K. And one of the joys of working in a really small town is you get to do something like this. So yesterday, I had a father who has a 4-year-old who's got some disabilities that he was just diagnosed with, but he loves fire trucks. And he asked if he could come to the fire hall and let his kids sit in the truck. Well, we let him sit in the truck, turn on some lights, turn on some sirens, run down the road with the fire truck, race some water, and then come back. I think we short circuited the little kid. He had a so that's my report on the fire department. I do want to, you should have a letter in your packet of some sort. I need to address abandoned propane tanks within the municipal boundaries of town of Manchester. Since natural gas has come to the town, propane tanks that are leased out to residents, some have been abandoned by the leaseor, meaning they've not been picked up after service has been discontinued. There really isn't any teeth to get those tanks removed, either by lease or contract or through the state fire marshal's office. I talked to the state fire marshal And on commercial accounts, they have an ability to retrieve those tanks and put some force in it, but without an ordinance, residents really don't have it to get that problem taken care of. So what I've laid out is why and fire hazard safety, an unmaintained tank on a property. These tanks have been there now for a year or more. And the teeth is a fine, the lease over. So I drafted a, generic ordinance that you can look at, change, whatever you see fit. It's, don't take it verbatim. It's meant to be a draft that you can look at and opine what you think and decide how you want to address that issue. The fire marshal's office, when I spoke with them, didn't disagree with the ordinance. I just put it in front of them, and so also the county fire warden, so they're aware that this letter has been drafted and sent. And it does give residents within the town an ability to say, hey, pick up your tank. It's time. And then, on a final note, I want to address something that's concerning me in council. And I want to describe what a no vote means as it pertains to our bills. And I'm going to line it out specifically for the fire department, because that's, I get affected by that. On today's bills, we've got oversight by an engineer for a water transmission lane. A no vote on that bill means you don't want to pay that bill, which means we don't have oversight for the services being rendered by the contractor. Same goes for the contractor. If you vote no on paying our bills, you risk having the contractor stop work for lack of payment on that bill. You talk about things like the power to my fire hall. You vote no on that bill, my power doesn't get turned on. Same thing with natural gas. You vote no, we don't get natural gas for heat in the fire hall. And that goes same for the budget. A blanket no vote on the budget means you don't want to fund those things either. And that's really concerning. I want to kind of look back at a young age. My dad was pretty instrumental in growing up, and one of the key things he said, if you got a problem, then come with a solution. So if you want to vote no, then come with an alternate solution, some way to treat that mechanism in a really kind of an adult fashion. But if you just want to vote no, that means you don't want to pay the bills. And on the budget, if you vote no, you don't want to fund it. And it puts my job at risk and my ability to serve the community. And that's all I've got to say.
Thank you, Captain. Okay, I don't have any. Approval of treasury report.
You'll see that we've added Northern Underground escrow account. So they're the ones doing the water transmission. So we have that account designed because we have to hold back our percentage of their payment. So it's going into that account to draw interest since we're holding it. So I did make a transfer for that percentage and put into from the general fund and put it into their escrow account. And then I also transferred from the express bill pay into the general fund on 4/1 for 36,000. And these are all the numbers as of last week. So. Any questions?
45,000, all that's gonna be in?
No,
I was just trickles.
when we get paid, then 5%,
Is it 10% of the?
10%? What is it, 5 or 10? 5%.
Instead of holding, you can either hold out retainage for them, they just don't get that, or they can choose to. On a bigger project, they can choose to set up an escrow account and say, hey, instead of just not paying me that, put that money in an account. And let it draw interest over the life of the project, and then when everything's said and done, and they do the final advertising and all their suppliers are paid and the project's done, then they get that money.
And they keep the interest.
They get it.
They get it.
Yeah.
It's just a way for them to say, hey, just don't hold the money back. Let it do some work while I'm out here working for the next year and a half.
Yeah.
Most contractors do it on bigger projects when they're, if it's, well, anymore, they do it on any project, really. It didn't used to be that common, but.
And this is the first time we've had to do it. but we did have to sign a contract and it's all with the bank. So they are on the account, but they can't touch the account. We manage the account.
Yeah.
So we'll just provide them a copy of the statement.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the treasury report as presented.
I'll second.
Moved by Randy, second by Jessica, the treasury report as presented. Any more comments? Any more comments? Any comments? All in favor of approving the treasury report, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Approval of the bills, and you'll notice there's some, it's a lot larger than this, because we have some paying out for the construction project, $300,000 here, $400,000 there.
And we don't pay out until we get paid.
Yeah, we get money reimbursed to us, then we pay it out, it's not like making money.
We had to purchase an easement.
And that's part of it.
That's all part of it,
Oh, part of it.
construction, yeah.
Okay.
We widened the easement, then we had some temporary
Hmm.
construction easements that we paid for, and that's all part of it. Pretty much the state requirements and stuff.
Okay.
Are we in discussion time?
Have a motion to approve, then we can have a discussion.
Okay.
Have a motion to approve the bills. I need the motion first.
Yeah.
Is that a motion?
Approve the bills?
I need a
I'll
motion.
make a motion to approve the bills in the amount of $441,699.30.
Also, moved by Jessica, second by Randy to approve those. Now we can discuss it. Is that-
Yes.
Okay,
Well, I just, I see we spent a pretty good chunk of change in IT equipment in 3141-400 new equipment and tools inside under IT. And we never had a budget for that. We're over, we spent 10,000 there. And we got a sign for the bear here. We got a nice little waste in the southern part of Montana and northern Wyoming. If we need a sign, they can call if they're gonna complain about the bear over there. I mean, $400 for a sign. We got a guy that wants a ladder for $400 and we're buying signs. I understand some of it, but we didn't have a budget for this. So what, are we gonna follow the budget at all? I mean, the first budget people voted on, the first, what's right here, IT equipment, last
Are
two
you
months. Yeah, that's, yeah, there's 3,200, 118 and 2,800 there. And there wasn't even a budget for IT in this from last year.
It was in the other parts of it. We're just moving it to IT department. That's what we talked about at the budget workshop. So it was already budgeted, but in other sections. And then now we're making an IT department. Because Spencer spends so much time doing IT, I want to account for what he's spending for IT versus what he's spending for being a marshal. Because he's all an IT person and plus he's animal control. So I've made new departments. So there's no history for a department that's brand new. But those monies were budgeted in other sections. I've just rearranged them.
Okay. That seems like a lot of money to me. And the signs.
And the signs are budgeted under Parks and Rec for.
I know, I saw the amount of money for just improvements, but we have a guy that wants a ladder, can't get a ladder, and we spend 1,300 on signs.
that's good.
What's that?
Yeah, that's not true.
Well, that's what he asked for in the ideal. And that was-
Well, he's gonna get a
That's
ladder.
in the budget, that's been paid for, that was asked for.
Yeah, well, he said he was still asking for it, like he's asking for it once before, and so, I just find that, no,
And that is not true.
that's what he said in the budget. Anyways, I'm sorry, that's what he said.
Okay,
That's all I said.
okay, any more discussion?
No.
Any more discussion? All in favor of approving the bills? Aye. Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approve the payroll.
I'll make a motion to approve payroll at $41,006.57.
I'll second.
And then Randy, second by Jessica, to approve payroll. Any discussion? Any discussion? No discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of approving payroll, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Future agenda items.
So we get the ordinance.
We can put that on as a future agenda item, once we work, look at it, work through it, and then we'll just get draft, kind of a final version of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's much tweaking you can do. I looked at it. There's maybe some timelines and stuff I would look at. Be sure to look at that. And we'll bring that back in the future agenda item. You know, when, but anything else? Anything else? Entertain a motion to adjourn then.
I would so move.
Right now. Let's go. Adjourn. In favor?